I'm Anita and you're watching Nightline, the top stories. Issue of the use of word Allah to be brought up in MKI meeting in August. And Sulu claims government to sue self-proclaimed heirs and their funders. We begin with our headlining story. The issue concerning the use of the word Allah by non-Muslims in Malaysia will be brought up in the National Council for Islamic Religious Affairs, MKI, in August, before it is further discussed at the Conference of Rulers meeting in October. The Sultan of Selangor, Sultan Sharifuddin Idris Shah, said it was in line with MKI's functions, which include advising the Malay rulers in improving the governance of Islam at the federal level. In a statement on Wednesday, Sultan Sharifuddin said the matter was also agreed to by Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim, who was granted an audience to brief the ruler on the government's decision to withdraw its appeal in the case of Jill Ireland versus Home Minister and the Malaysian government at the Court of Appeal recently. The ruler added, since the matter involves religious sensitivity in Malaysia, the issue of the use of the word Allah by non-Muslims needs to be resolved immediately by the federal government with full wisdom and responsibility. At the same time, Sultan Sharifuddin called on all parties not to politicise, raise or debate the use of the word Allah by non-Muslims until the Conference of Rulers makes a final decision on the issue. This is to ensure that racial harmony in Malaysia remains intact in order to maintain the social and economic stability of this country. Meanwhile, Datuk Seri Anwar stressed that whatever decision made at the Conference of Rulers meeting slated to be held in October will be adopted as a final policy for the issue relating to the use of the word Allah by non-Muslims in Malaysia. In a separate statement after his audience with Sultan Sharifuddin, the Prime Minister said he had briefed the ruler on the issue concerning the government's decision in Jill Ireland's case. Datuk Seri Anwar added he had explained to Sultan Sharifuddin about the federal government's stance in respecting the law in each state and the position of the Malay rulers as head of religion in determining matters related to Islam at the state level, as well as the role of the Conference of Rulers at the federal level. He added that he respected the rulers' views, which were in line with the Cabinet's decision made in May that the issue concerning the use of the word Allah by non-Muslims in Sabah and Sarawak should be scrutinised and clarified to the MKI, which has the role of advising the Conference of Rulers. During the audience, Datuk Seri Anwar also reaffirmed the federal government's stance to ratify and adopt the existing policy that the word Allah can only be used by Muslims in the peninsula and with restrictions for non-Muslims in Sabah and Sarawak. Indonesian President Joko Widodo, popularly known as Jokowi, began a two-day working visit to Malaysia starting Wednesday. Foreign Minister Datuk Seri Zamri Abdul Kadir said the official visit would further strengthen ties between the two countries, including resolving some pending issues. According to Datuk Seri Zamri, a series of discussions will be held and several memoranda of understanding MOUs between Malaysia and Indonesia will also be signed during Jokowi's visit.
Dan ini termasuk juga dari segi perbincangan melibatkan kawasan-kawasan sempadan kita, sama ada sempadan darat, sempadan laut, dan demikian juga dalam hubungan kita tentang persefahaman perdagangan kita.
Speaking to reporters at Parliament on Wednesday, he said the discussions, which will involve various ministries, will help create better understanding between both countries. Datuk Seri Zamri added that although this is not the first time Jokowi has visited Malaysia, his presence will enhance the close bond between the country and Indonesia, which is very important in ASEAN in terms of regional relations. Earlier, the special aircraft carrying Jokowi, his wife Iriana Joko Widodo and his delegation landed at Bunga Raya Complex, Kuala Lumpur International Airport, KLIA, at about 3:40 p.m. Datuk Seri Zamri was on hand to receive the Indonesian president at the airport with the Indonesian ambassador to Malaysia, Hermono. Jokowi is scheduled to meet Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim at Sri Perdana in Putrajaya on Thursday, apart from attending a banquet with the Yang di-Pertuan Agong Al-Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah at Istana Negara. Both leaders are also expected to witness the exchange of several agreements signed by the respective ministry and agency representatives from both countries. Jokowi last visited Malaysia in 2019 after being elected for the second term in the presidential election on April 17th. Last year, Indonesia was the sixth largest trading partner of Malaysia and the second largest in ASEAN, with a total trade of 130.14 billion ringgit. The government will sue the 8 self-proclaimed heirs of the long-defunct Sulu sultanate and make sure they will pay the costs incurred by Malaysia as a result of their claims. Minister in the Prime Minister's Department for Law and Institutional Reform, Datuk Sri Azalina Othman Said, who revealed this, stated that legal action would also be taken against their backers.
We're going all out to make sure the truth be told. And we will sue them, what we need to do, to claim for all this costing that we're facing. There's a lot of costs that we're paying, going here, going there, getting consultants, getting outside lawyers. Someone has to pay our bill, right? So yes, we do what we need to do.
Speaking at a media conference on Wednesday, Datuk Sri Azalina said the government has reason to believe that the claim was financially motivated and bankrolled by litigation funders based outside Asia. However, she declined to elaborate on the government's next course of action in its legal battle. The minister also issued a stern warning against Malaysians suspected of helping the so-called heirs to the Sulu sultanate, as their action is detrimental to the country, and added that the government is gathering evidence against them. On Tuesday, Malaysia won a legal battle in France that will likely cancel an arbitration award of about $15 billion to the Sulu sultanate heirs over territorial claims related to Sabah. For Sabah Chief Minister, the decision of the Paris Court of Appeal to uphold Malaysia's challenge on the Sulu heirs' arbitration judgment vindicated the Sabah government's stand that the so-called Sabah claim has no merit. Datuk Sri Haji Noor, in welcoming the landmark court victory, said it also further reinforced the state's position in the Federation of Malaysia. In a statement on Wednesday, Datuk Sri Haji said Sabah, through its Attorney General chambers, will continue to play its role with the Federal Attorney General in dealing with the case. He also mentioned Sabahans have chosen to jointly form the Federation of Malaysia through the Malaysia Agreement 1963, MA63. Therefore, any external claims against Sabah will not be recognised by its people. The second phase of the National Digital Network, Jendela, will continue to be implemented, involving a cost of 8 billion ringgit, including funds from industry participants. Phase 2, which started in the first quarter of this year, also includes the continuation of coverage for the remaining 3% of the population in inland and isolated areas.
Cooperation between private and public spheres is important in the subject at hand. And it is there to ensure that the promise of Digital Malaysia has great reach, from the most developed urban centres all the way to the most remote of areas.
Speaking at a forum in the federal capital on Wednesday, the minister said the implementation of Jendela should also be focused on 5G coverage, in line with the target of achieving 80% coverage at the end of this year. The rollout of the 5G network in Malaysia has achieved 62.1% coverage of populated areas as at end of May. The Education Ministry, MOE, has given schools the green light to resume outdoor activities following a one-month suspension order. In a post on its Facebook account on Wednesday, the ministry said schools can resume outdoor activities as the hot weather had subsided. The MOE said it has allowed outdoor activities to resume after factoring in all aspects to ensure the welfare, health and safety of students, teachers and others. The post also highlighted measures that schools should implement for outdoor activities, including ensuring students' involvement is voluntary with parents' permission, encouraging students to wear light-coloured clothing, making sure students drink enough water, allowing extra rest time during outdoor activities and sufficient cooling down period, and postponing all outdoor activities if the temperature surpasses 35 degrees Celsius. Early last month, the MOE ordered all its institutions to suspend all outdoor activities effective May 3rd due to the hot weather to prevent students and teachers from getting heat stroke. The government has outlined 5 strategic cores to develop a robust and competitive hydrogen ecosystem. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim said that the cores would allow Malaysia to lead in the hydrogen economy by 2050. The Prime Minister's statement was read by Science, Technology and Innovation Minister Chang Lee Kang at the National Science Centre. The Hydrogen Economy Technology Roadmap, HETR, that was discussed and agreed during the National Science Council, NSC, would support the country's low-carbon aspirations 2040 under the National Energy Policy.
Pasaran global bagi hidrogen hijau diunjurkan mencapai 189.19 bilion US dollar pada tahun 2050. Daripada jumlah diunjurkan ini, sebanyak 81.12 bilion US dollar, iaitu lebih kurang 43%. Nilai pasaran adalah di rantau Asia Pasifik, diikuti oleh ASEAN sebanyak 25.81 bilion US dollar, kira-kira 13%, dan Malaysia pada 3.1 bilion USD, iaitu lebih kurang 2%.
He said this at a media conference after attending the first NSC meeting of this year, which was chaired by the Prime Minister. Malaysia would also be expected to generate between 49 billion ringgit and 61 billion ringgit to the gross domestic product, GDP, in 2030 through the implementation of HETR. A total of 45,000 job opportunities would also be created under the proposed roadmap. Barisan Nasional needs to win all seats allocated to the coalition in the upcoming 6 state elections. Its chairman, Datuk Seri Ahmad Zahid Hamidi, said the state polls should be the platform to revive BN after losing in the 14th and 15th general elections.
Realiti baharu politik tanah air ialah kita berada di dalam kerajaan perpaduan. Dan kita adalah sebahagian daripada kerajaan. Kita tidak dominan. Itu harus diakui hakikat. Oleh demikian, PRN 6 negeri ini mengundang kerja kuat kita dan membuktikan mana-mana kursi yang dimuktamadkan untuk diberikan kepada Barisan Nasional, hendaklah kita menangi. Tidak ada makna kalau kita merasa kuat, tapi sebenarnya keberhasilannya kurang.
Datuk Seri Zahid, who is also UMNO president, said this to reporters after attending an event held in conjunction with the 2023 UMNO General Assembly at the World Trade Center, WTC, in Kuala Lumpur on Wednesday. He also said the time has come for the coalition to rise again and move forward by finding common ground, and the party should correct the weaknesses of its predecessors who were too focused on differences. The 6 states that will face elections this year are Selangor, Pulau Pinang, Negeri Sembilan, Kedah, Kelantan and Terengganu. Right after this breather, Tokyo seizes second largest batch of drugs. The details when we return. Stay tuned. later turned out to be synthetic drugs, was found in containers delivered to the Tokyo port on a cargo ship from the United Arab Emirates via China. The weight of the drugs corresponds to about $400 million in the black market. Following the seizure, 4 Chinese citizens were arrested, with an international criminal organization believed to be behind them. The largest consignment of drugs seized in Japan was registered in 2019. Also in Japan, the parliament was debating a landmark bill to reform the country's sexual assault laws, only the second such revision in a century, and in a society where the concept is still poorly understood. The bill covers a number of changes, but the biggest and most significant one will see lawmakers redefine rape from forcible sexual intercourse to non-consensual sexual intercourse, as well as the increase of the age of consent from 13 to 16 years and extension of the statute of limitations. A new crime would also be established to punish acts of secretly photographing or filming a person's sexual anatomy and providing such photos or videos to a third person, with perpetrators subject to a prison sentence of up to 3 years. The Parliament have until June 21st to pass the new law. Sweltering temperatures across China have killed livestock and stretched power grids in an early heat wave that portends another summer of disruption for Asia's industry and food supply. The capital, Beijing, was expected to see temperatures hit a high of 37 degrees Celsius on Wednesday, after electricity demand in southern regions hit peak levels in late May, 1 month earlier than last year. The scorching weather is proving particularly dangerous to animals, as hundreds of pigs have been dying in Jiangsu province and farmed fish perished as water temperatures soared in Guangxi. Meanwhile, industrial activity has already been curtailed for months due to droughts affecting hydroelectric output, as hotter weather prompts some of China's liquefied natural gas importers to seek shipments from the spot market. Extreme heat is unusual so early in the summer and particularly treacherous, given neither humans nor animals have adjusted. In the US, a man armed with 4 handguns killed 2 people and wounded more than 5 others on Tuesday when he fired into a crowd outside a high school graduation ceremony in Richmond, Virginia. It was reported that the shooting occurred outside the Altria Theatre on the campus of Virginia Commonwealth University, where local high school graduation ceremonies were being held. 5 were wounded by the gunfire outside Virginia Capital's Altria Theatre and in an adjacent park, while at least 12 others were injured or treated for anxiety due to the mayhem. According to interim Richmond police chief, a 19-year-old suspect tried to flee but was arrested and will be charged with 2 counts of second-degree murder. The mass shooting was the United States' 279th in the first 157 days of 2023. Floodwaters in southern Ukraine were expected to crest on Wednesday, with tens of thousands of civilians fleeing in peril from the destruction of a vast dam that both Ukraine and Russia called an act of wartime sabotage. According to Ukraine's Deputy Prime Minister, Oleksandr Kubrakov, over 80 settlements have been affected by the disaster and 42,000 people were at direct risk from flooding, including shortage of drinking water. Ukraine and Russia have blamed each other for the destruction of the dam, as targeting dams in war is explicitly banned by the Geneva Conventions. However, neither side has presented public evidence demonstrating who is to blame. Moscow has been engaging in a campaign of airstrikes against Ukraine's energy system, in which Kiev says infrastructure of other dams have been damaged. Coming up next, Selangor runs amok. Sports when we return. Stay tuned. back with sports news now. Football, the 2023 Super League. 2 matches were played on Wednesday night. Kedah Darul Aman FC grabbed the much-needed 3 points after beating Perak FC 3-0. In Kota Baru, Kelantan United FC hit another low after they were humiliated 1-7 by Selangor FC. A hat-trick from Aaron Del Val and a goal each from Mukairi Ajmal, Faisal Halim, Johandri Orozco and Alif Izwan gave the Red Giants their biggest win of the season. With the win, Selangor maintained their second spot with 31 points, 8 points behind leaders Johor Darul Takzim, with 3 points above Kedah Darul Aman FC. On to tennis now, the 2023 French Open. World number 1 Carlos Alcaraz survived a third set wobble to cruise past 5th seed Stefanos Tsitsipas of Greece and earned a spot in the last 4. Top seed Alcaraz defeated the 5th seeded Greek with a convincing 6-2, 6-1, 7-6 victory. The 20-year-old was rarely under pressure and cruised through the opening 2 sets of the highly anticipated clash for the loss of just 3 games. Alcaraz will now face 3rd seed Novak Jokowi in a mouth-watering semi-final, with the Spaniard chasing a 2nd Grand Slam title after winning the US Open crown last year. Djokovic earlier fought back after dropping the first set to beat Karen Khachanov 4-6, 7-6, 6-2, 6-4 to reach his 45th career Grand Slam semi-final. The 3rd seed fell behind for the first time this fortnight against Khachanov, but dominated the 2nd set tiebreak and then broke to begin the 3rd set after a favourable bounce off the net. The victory over the 11th seed puts Djokovic in the last 4 for the 12th time at Roland Garros. In the women's event, Beatriz Hajaj Maia came from a set down to defeat Ons Jabeur to become the first Brazilian woman to reach the semi-finals in the Open era. The Brazilian was second best in the first set, 3-6. She, however, fought back to win the next 2 sets, 7-6, 6-1. The 14th seed will next play Iga Świątek. Świątek was tested by American 6th seed Coco Gauff in a rematch of their 2022 French Open title clash. The world number 1 showed her class to secure a 6-4, 6-2 victory and reach the last 4. Poland's Świątek has now won her last 12 matches on the clay courts of Paris as she continues her bid for a 3rd crown in 4 years at Roland Garros and her 4th Grand Slam title overall. Still to come on Nightline, man who hit female driver remanded for 3 days. Stay tuned. Police have recorded Datuk Seri Muhammad Sanusi Matno's statement over his claim that Pulau Pinang belongs to Kedah. Speaking to the media, the Kedah Menteri Besar denied that he issued any statement of wanting the constitution to be amended for Pulau Pinang to be returned to Kedah. Datuk Seri Sanusi was questioned for about 30 minutes in his office at Wisma Darul Aman Al-Usta by a Bukit Aman investigation team. According to him, he was only asked 5 questions in addition to clarifying his statement regarding Kedah's right to Pulau Pinang.
Dia kata Sanusi desak perlembagaan di Pinang. Saya tak pernah kata di mana-mana pun.
Datuk Seri tak pernah cakap dengan
Tak pernah.
Datuk Seri Sanusi added he was consistent that Pulau Pinang was leased from Kedah. Therefore, Kedah should be given a commensurate payment of 100 million ringgit. A police spokesman previously said Datuk Seri Sanusi's conversation would be recorded under the Criminal Procedure Code. On May 29th, Datuk Seri Sanusi was reported to have said that Kedah and Pulau Pinang do not have borders because the area is still the property of Kedah. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim described the Kedah Menteri Besar statement as irresponsible and against the federal constitution. The man seen assaulting a woman driver while travelling from Cameron Highlands to Tapa has been remanded for 3 days until June 9th. The remand order against the 29-year-old suspect was issued by the Tapa Magistrates Court to facilitate the investigations into the case under the Penal Code. On Tuesday, the man, a factory supervisor, was detained by police around Serdang, Selangor and taken to the Tapa police station. Earlier, a 59-second video went viral, showing the man getting out of the car he was driving and knocking on the window of the vehicle behind him before scolding the woman and hitting her on the head. The incident is believed to have occurred as a result of a misunderstanding on the road. Whereas in Pahang, the Kuantan Magistrates Court rejected a remand application by the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission, MACC, against the district police chief to facilitate investigations into allegations of bribery involving over 1 million ringgit. Magistrate Tengku Iliana Tuan Kamarul Zaman rejected the application by MACC Deputy Public Prosecutor Rifah Izzati Abdul Muttalif according to the Criminal Procedure Code. Lawyer Datuk Bob S. Arumugam, who was representing the 53-year-old senior police officer, told the media later that Tengku Iliana had concurred with his argument, citing a recent decision by the Temerloh High Court that the MACC must use its own act when applying for a remand order. On May 19th, the court ruled that the MACC Act gave specific powers to the anti-graft, including on investigations that cannot be completed within 24 hours. On Tuesday, Pahang MACC Director Hairuzam Amin confirmed that the Commission had detained the officer for allegedly receiving the bribes between 2017 and 2022. The money was believed to be as an inducement not to act against entertainment centres. Looks like that concludes Nightline this time around. But before we leave, let's take a look as China's traditional oil paper umbrella catches the eyes of young people, both home and abroad, for its exquisite craftsmanship, inheritance of intangible culture heritage and aesthetic appreciation infused with modern elements and techniques. With that, I'm Anita. Thank you for watching and be well, Malaysia.